guys, welcome back to this channel. So if you're new to this channel, you're welcome. My name is Victory. So for today's tutorial, we're making an A-line kimono jacket, simple one. So here I have my 1 yard of fabric. So this is what I'm going to use to cut out my back piece. First I'm going to cut out my back piece, then use my back piece to cut out the front piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is to mark out the length of my dress, then we'll jump right into this tutorial. So the length of my dress is 44 plus the hemming at the bottom and the joining at the shoulder. I'm going to mark out 47 inches. So now go ahead and mark out my measurements. I'll mark out my chest line, my underbust and my half length. My chest line is 10 inches, my underbust is 14 inches, my half length is 17 inches. Then my hip line, that's part is not really necessary because it's an A-line dress, so that part of the measurement, your hip line, is not really necessary. The only measurement you need is your underbust, your chest line and your half length. So that's the only measurement we'll be using for this dress. So I'm going to mark out my neckline. So for my neckline I use 3 by 2 inches or 3 by 1.5 inches. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark out my back measurement. My back measurement is 16 inches, divided by 2 is 8 inches, but I'm going to be marking out 9 inches for the seaming of the sleeve to the shoulder, the joining at the shoulder, which is the sleeve and the shoulder together, and ease. So I mark out 9 inches, half inches for the joining at the shoulder and half inches for ease. So I'm just going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant like this. Then from there I'm going to roll it down to my chest line, a straight line like that. So I'm just going to make the line bolder, so I'll make the line clear for you to see it. So this is it, guys. So now go ahead and mark out my horizontal measurement. So for my bust, the bust is 37 divided by 4, 9.25. So mark out 9.25 inch plus 2 inches for ease. So mark out 2 inches for ease. You can add 1 inches for your seam allowance if you want. So for my underbust is 32. 32 divided by 2 is 8. 8. I'll mark out my 8 plus the 2 inch for ease as well. You can also add 1 inch as well if you still want. So I'll do the same thing for my half length, divided by 4 plus 2 inches for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'm going to connect these parts together, these lines together. I'll connect them together. So after connecting, I'm going to make a straight line from my underbust measurement down to my hem line, which is the hem of my dress. So just connect to the end like this. So if you have a long ruler, it's better. So just use your ruler to connect that point, your underbust to. So the next thing we're going to do is end of the dress, just like this. Curve. Just make it your armhole curve like that, around your armhole line like that. If you have your armhole ruler, it's better just place it and make out your curve like that. So now go ahead and cut out my back piece. I'll just follow the lines I've marked out. Just cut out the back piece like this. So the next thing we're going to do is to trim out this part of our dress, this hem line. Just trim it a little so that when we finish sewing it will not be pointy, it will not come out too sharp at the edge at the bottom. So just make your slant like this and cut it out, just little though. So after cutting, this is what it's going to look like. So the next thing we're going to do is to use this back part to cut out the front part. So this is the fabric I'm going to use to cut out our front piece. So for the front is 2 inches wider than the back. So I'm going to place my back piece on my material to cut out the front piece, just like this. So that's the 2 inches wideness I was talking about. So it's 2 inches wider than the back piece. The next thing I'm going to do is to come out by 1 inch from my under bust area. This line I marked my under bust, so I'll come out by 1 inch, just like you see me doing. Just watch closely. So I'll come out by 1 inch like this, and I'm going to mark it out like so. So I'll go ahead and extend this line to extend my under bust line to the 1 inch I marked out, just like this. I'll extend it to that 1 inch I marked out. So the next thing I'm going to do is to just connect this 1 inch down to the hem of my dress. Just mark out this 1 inch down like this. And just mark it out straight. So at this point we're going to get our neckline. So to get our neckline, I'm going to use the back neckline to get the front neckline. So I'm going to mark it out like this from the back and connect from that part I marked, like so. That part I marked, I'm going to connect it to this other 1 inch part, like this. Hope you understand. So I'm going to connect it like this in a slant way, from the under bust to the neckline in a slant way, just like this. Use your ruler to get the shape very well. Just make the line like this, connect it. Yeah. Then that's it for the front piece. So that's the only different thing about the front. So the rest is going to be the same: the armhole, the side, the shoulder. So the other parts are the same thing. So I'm just going to trace it out and cut it out, following this part that we marked out, and that's it, guys. So I'm just going to cut it out now. So guys, the next thing we're going to do now is to take this to our machine and start joining the shoulder, the sides, and everything together. So this is the back piece. This is what the back is going to look like. Then the front piece on top of the back piece. So I'm just going to place them right side facing each other, then join the shoulders, the sides together. So guys, this is what we got after cutting. This is what it's looking like after cutting. So guys, I've joined the sides and the shoulder together. So this is what it's going to look like when you've joined yours. So this is what it's looking like, guys. This is what it's looking like. I've joined the sides together and I've joined the shoulder. So now go ahead and measure it round to know how many inches I'm going to use for my collar and my tie. So I'll just measure it all the way around like this. So after measuring, whatever you get, you cut it out as your length. Then for your width, you are going to cut out 5 inches, just like this. Just mark out 5 inches and cut it out. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So I'll be cutting 2 of this because my length was very long, so I needed 2. So I'll cut out 2 of this and join them together to get the full length of my collar and my tie together. Now the next thing we're going to do is to attach the collar to the front piece. So we're just going to look for the midpoint of the dress and the midpoint of the collar, the midpoint of the back neckline and the midpoint of the collar. So place it right side facing each other like this and sew it round. I'll stop at my underbust, so I'll sew it to my underbust like this, right side facing each other, and I'll stop at my underbust. So I'll start from this midpoint to my underbust, start from the other midpoint to my other underbust. Hope you understand what I'm saying. So after sewing it on one side, so I'm going to fold it like this and use the other parts to cover the rough edges. Just watch what I'm doing. So I'm going to use the other part to cover the rough edges like this. I'll also stop at my underbust as well. I'll just cover the rough edges with the other parts like this. It's very easy. So guys, after sewing, this is what I got. So I sewed it from the midpoint to where the slant ended. So that's the underbust I was talking about. So I sewed it to that point and stopped there. I did the same thing for the other side too, from the other midpoint to the other side. So that's what I did. So the next thing I'm going to do is to use the upper part to cover the rough edges before I go ahead and close the other end. So I'm just going to cover the rough edges. Hope you understand what I'm doing. So just watch closely. I'm just going to cover the rough edge with the other part of the collar, and I'll end in that point. I'll end at that point as well. Hope you understand. So just cover it like this to cover the rough edge and end there. So we're going to come back and close that end later on. So guys, after closing the rough edges, so this is what it's going to look like. As you can see, I went ahead to close the other part of the collar, which is the part we're going to use for our belt. So I went ahead to close that part as well. So just do the same thing for yours. Close the rough edges with the other side of your collar and cover the other part of the collar, which is the part we're going to use for the belt. Hope this is very simple and hope you understand. So the next thing we're going to do is to leave like 2 inches opening or 1.5 inch opening for the belt to pass through from inside like this. So I'm going to open that part with like 2 inch or 1.5 so that the belt can pass through when we are wrapping it together. Hope you understand. So the last thing we're going to do is to fix our sleeve, and we are done with this dress. This is what it's looking like after fixing the sleeve. I went ahead to add a little black touch to the sleeve. Sorry I couldn't get it on camera, but that's everything I did. So guys, this is the final look of the jacket. Let me know what you think about this jacket. If it's easy, if it's well understood, if you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section. See you guys on my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Remember to like and subscribe. Bye bye.